Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. And today we're not quite at the end of 2025, but we're close. We're going to be talking about the fusions of 2025. Are they good? Are they too good? Who knows? We're going to be diving in depth, and to do that, we are joined by none other than Bront Cat Herder. Dude, how are you? It's been a while. I think the last time you were on was probably during the Hell Hades free to play challenge at the start of the year, I think.
Yeah,
How's
I
it been?
think the behind the scenes was I think you and I were chatting with it, and you're just like, I think I'm going to have to quit the free to play. You
Oh,
told me
yeah.
before you'd announced it too, because it was right around that time. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a while, and you've been killing it. Hopefully, I've been killing it as well, and it's nice to get back and talk with some of the great content creators in Raid.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, again, guys, if you're not subscribed to Bront, you'll find it linked down below. There's actually, I don't know if you've seen it. I just did it with YST. There's like a new collaboration feature on YouTube, and it will list both channels. And in the back end, I can like see depending on what permissions you give, you can see like the analytics and all the
Hmm.
comments on the video really easily on your YouTube studio stuff. So yeah, it's cool. We'll try set that up, and yeah, you very easily find Bront's channel down below. Make sure to subscribe. Check out the videos over there and all that good stuff. But Bront, 2025 for fusions. Strongest year for fusions, bad year for fusions overall. What's the general
Oh,
vibe here?
I mean, looking at that list there, it's just, like the worst fusion might be Lysanthier on this list right here. And it's
Hmm.
just, or maybe Ishiyama.
Yeah.
And those are, as you can see, you've got them braided 4 out of 5 on Hell Hades looking right there.
Yeah, yeah.
They're, are were they, if you weren't looking for those particular champions, and again, that's a damage dealer problem, really,
Hmm.
then they weren't going to help you necessarily. But every other fusion's been pretty big of a banger. I think Esme was underrated as a really good support. But again, that was one if you needed one. Fabian changed the game in some ways. I think opened up a lot of things that weren't happening in Arena and opened up Arena for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tholen is a huge game changer. I think Tholen's underrated at 4 out of 5. Honestly, the more I
Fair.
use
Yeah.
him on both accounts, I think he's just absolutely amazing. We'll get to opinions on Titus at some point in time, I'm sure.
Come back to
You know, it
Titus. Yeah.
But yeah, it is definitely been some power creep in the fusions, I think, and
Yeah,
it's an
yeah.
interesting topic to talk about, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like if we jump back to I don't know 2022, and there are some good ones in here as well. Like Nishak was really good. He stands up. We had like they've ditched epic fusions. That's personally something I'm totally fine with. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Those
It's
going.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you get epic fusions are the okay, maybe I'll get the epic from a traditional or a fragment fusion I'm not doing, and that's fine. That's about the extent of it.
Yeah. 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 I'm just glancing through. Definitely, like I mean, yeah. We look at 2022. I think we missed maybe a January fusion because of the war. I think, but it might have been that year. Yeah, like
Yeah, that was that year.
Karato,
Yeah.
he's probably a bit like this is one of the things as well. It's always interesting with ratings where I think these were probably, I assume, rated in 2022, and probably they should go a little bit lower now, just because, as you mentioned, the power creep in the game, champions are just getting better. Like Karato's probably a little bit high, I would say, at 4. Nari's
Hmm.
pretty bad. Guy is maybe a bit harsh. I mean, they're certainly just at a quick glance, they're certainly lower rated. This one's maybe a
Yeah,
little harsh, but yeah,
yeah.
but
Like I said, I
there's a
mean, and some of them have grown too. And that's the thing too. Like you go to Lana Tharl, for example. I think is one of these champions that
yeah,
nobody liked Lana Tharl when it came out. He was
right.
a very tough fusion to do as well. I skipped him on my main and I regretted it once Hard Fire Knight came out because I never had it. I only had Fat Man as my only ally attack champion on that account, and if I'd
Mm,
done that fusion, I would have had, possibly Fire Knight 6 or 10 solved really early on, and I just couldn't do it for whatever reason. I
yeah,
mean, you go back to like 2020 or 2021, like when I
bit
started.
harsh, but
I started right around Herndig, who's a good fusion still. I mean, if Herndig was a fusion today, I'd still think he'd be a good fusion, but afterwards it was Versalf and Rorik,
okay,
which was the
yeah.
first fusion I ever did on my account, and definitely not quality champions there in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Herndig's actually rated pretty well here on the site. That's interesting. I feel like he's one that gets a bit underrated typically by players. Solid enough. Yeah. This was the first proper year I was playing. I think I started late 2020. Um
Mhm.
yeah, that's interesting. All right. Obviously Vlad got a bit of a glow up since then. So he's probably
Yeah.
been
I
re-rated
mean,
and stuff like that.
we remember how people were so insane over Tatura at the time? That's a
Yeah,
champion that's been power crept.
yeah, like 4.5 again. That's yeah, people were crazy for this guy. I feel like that's sort of a bit of the old Demon Lord clan boss days almost, you know?
Well, and
But
he's still one of the few Veil champions, you know? I mean, I know
oh,
you
dude.
said you was struggling for Veil champions on your account. He's an
Yeah.
option for you, I'm sure, but
Yeah,
it's, you
yeah,
know,
yeah. I think he is the strongest option. Like if I look at when we conclude the reserve vault anyway. But yeah, no, 100% like perfect veil. Uh in terms of ones that apply it to the team, he's the only one
mhm,
that does team the other are all individual. Elva's random. Uh, yeah, it's him or Rector Drat. If I want to perfect fail my damage dealer reliably, I mean, it's either use Ninja, someone who can self fail, or yeah, Tatura is my only
yeah.
team legendary option, which is crazy when it's so important for so many things. I'm like, huh? I don't know. I've been
Mhm.
pulling on the 10x events or 15x events for Veil champs, just doesn't work. Don't work. But anyway, um, yeah, I mean, just glancing through, I actually think 2023 surprises me actually by how poor the fusions were. I think the Emic rating is wrong. He should be higher. But like there was Noose, he was ridiculous.
Mhm.
Um, maybe this is a bit harsh since her buff, but she's maybe only a 3.5 or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
Jetney, I think, is a little
it's a bit
high. I was not impressed with her. Razelvard,
yeah,
4 out of 5, I
that's a bit
think is
low.
about right. He's very useful if you get him at the right time, you
Iteon is
know.
maybe a little generous, but for when he came out, it's probably totally fine. I think
Oh,
there's
and a Pardon is no longer a 3 out of 5. He's gotten
no,
buffed, and
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's lots of stuff certainly to be updated as we go, but it was a pretty bad year. Even 2024, noticeably weaker than this year. I mean, Noel was really good. Stock is actually solid. He's pretty solid.
mhm.
She's a generic damage dealer. He's bad. Thor was great. This guy was disappointing. Shayak, obviously, he's improved due to Krokad on his own. Wixwell's that's a bit underrated. I remember people going crazy hating on Wixwell. I remember the comment sections for that were mental. I don't know what was happening. People were so anti Wixwell. It was mad.
I think what you had is because people could vote on him, people got
Yeah.
opinionated on which ability they thought was the best, and when theirs didn't win, they were determined to hate him, and since, you know, you
Yeah.
had 3 choices, you effectively alienate about a third of every community every time you do it, so
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Ogre is a fun one actually that I've actually started using
mhm,
again a bit for Chimera because of the trials. But yeah, and Cora is a bit harsh. I mean, to be fair, she's sort of it's in that weird spot. I mean, it's one of the awkward things with rating champions in general. It's like if a champion is sort of mostly used for arena, they're not really very useful for dungeons. The overall rating is sort of more of an overview. Anyway, it's sort of its own thing. Certainly, there's no question. We look at 2025, they're way better. Like just we had these three in a row in particular, like
oh,
Donatello,
yeah.
Crocat, Titus, and then Tholan before him, who I do agree is underrated. He's like really good too. Um, yeah, a couple of weaker ones before them, and then gosh, it was Fabian before that, like Mad Hatter. It's massively stronger this year. Like, do you think it's something they've done intentionally? It certainly looks like that to me. Um,
Well, there's definitely been a power creep in raid in general with the champions, not just the fusions, but I
mm,
think, and I've said this before, I think that raid is honestly at its best when there are accessible and interesting champions on the line for people to be working towards, because
yeah,
that means the events that you're grinding for are actually like, oh, cool, I'm going to get a cool reward at the end of this 2 weeks of grinding various events. You
yeah,
know, Empress makes Chimera worth grinding at least early on. In fact, I just got him on my free to play, which was actually kind of
nice,
cool.
yeah,
You know, Michelangelo, great champion. Donatello, I still think Donatello might be underrated for a lot of people too. I don't think
I'd
people
say,
understand not only the fact that how powerful a cleanse, full team cleanse can be with that turn meter boost as well is huge,
mm,
but that reset is so powerful that that can make all kinds of really cool teams. I've been exploring that recently as well,
yeah,
and he's a good healer.
oh yeah,
So,
yeah. I'd say like a lot of players, that have had Michelangelo, Donatello for a while. People are now in the last few days getting Raphael guaranteed, and presumably Leo will drop soon. I'd say people will be using Donatello, like endgame players that maybe are
mhm,
like, I don't really need to redo my teams to fit Donatello in when I've already got teams for like that's sort of my situation. It's like, I've already got working teams everywhere. It's sort of like a bit of effort for no real reason to put Donatello in as of yet. But when I start getting more turtles, that's where it's like, ooh, okay, what if putting in loads of turtles, this suddenly starts to be better than the team I built up over the
Mhm.
last few years? So I think we'll probably get more end game attention on him. I'm sure he's been absolutely bonkers good for newer
Oh yeah.
players. Like, wow, he's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what I compare him to, which is probably a really good comparison, the kid is similar enough to like a Mithrala,
Yeah,
where you've
yeah.
got the cleanse, you don't have the shields, but you've got the healing, you've got some speed boost, you don't have poisons, so it's not identical. But
Hmm.
as far as the impact on the account, and honestly, the places you can use Donatello is he's a good substitute for Mithrala. In some cases, he's better, in some cases, he's not. But that's good, and I think that's great that Raid has champions that can be similar and swappable, but not identical, because again, that gives you the opportunity to make all kinds of different weird team comps, which again, for the end game players, that's half the fun of this, especially now we can do the gear swapping as well. Fine. I'll take a champion that I can get a fusion for guaranteed. It's a guaranteed legendary.
Yeah.
And if he's going to be possibly good somewhere, that means I can play with him and try to fit him in a team somewhere later on. And now it doesn't cost me penalties for gear to re-gear all these champions anymore, so I can swap the gear around.
Mm.
That's great. Now it just costs me legendary books and, masteries energy to train them up. And for an end game, energy to train up a 6-star champion is negligible at this point. So,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, like, I've been doing like some chimera experimentation and stuff recently. I will say the thing that bothers me the most is swapping relics. It's like
mhm.
that drives me bonkers because it's so expensive. It's like, oh, you want to try a new
What?
damage dealer for chimera and they just don't work because it's like, oh, I don't have my relic with my boss layer gem on them. It's just ugh,
That's actually a
problem.
place where they probably do need to evolve a little bit. The
Yeah.
relic swapping needs to get easier. I understand they don't want it to be free, I guess, for the
Mm.
relics because they're super powerful, but it's not they need to get the economy better for that or whatever reason.
Yeah.
But blessings and masteries are the other two that I think because we can swap gear, I
Should be
think
able to
that
swap
those
them as well.
getting discounted or getting honestly, if they cut that, if they said, all right, it's the first one's free, the next one's 30 gems instead of 300,
Mm.
I don't think the blessings become a huge major issue. You're not going to swap them constantly, but you won't feel restricted in swapping them. Yeah, it's 200 or 300. It's just gross.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I personally, I just be like, it's free to swap relics, free to change blessings, free to change masteries. Just do it. You
Yeah.
want to customize your champions, just go for it. Test stuff out. That for me is more fun.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. It's obviously tricky to think in terms of the overall game and whatnot. I would be inclined to assume it would be just more fun for people to change stuff for free. I don't know.
It probably would be. Yeah.
Maybe there's arguments against it. I haven't really thought about it enough, but yeah, I mean, that's his own thing. Do we want to talk about? Let's dive into that. We've ignored him so far in this discussion.
Mhm.
Let's talk about Titus. He is the only 5 out of 5 rated fusion this year. So we have on on hellhades.com, he is rated the best. I would say he's got a lot of problems though. He's certainly the most powerful fusion,
Mhm.
but in quite ideal circumstances. I think he's the most powerful, but arguably the worst for the game. But I don't know what if you feel the same way. Do you like Titus? Do you not like Titus? Like, what is your take on him?
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem with Titus is not the problem with Titus himself. And I think you've even talked about this too. And I know other content creators have talked about this too. I think I heard Ash and what's Scratch call him a friend killer because of Chimera Clash and Hydra Clash,
Yeah.
which, I mean, you left a clan over not wanting to run some of these teams with this sort of stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's,
100%.
you know,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's, you find a clan you enjoy, whatever else. It's not any hard feelings or anything. It's really rough if people are expecting you to run these 1 hour, 2 hour keys for these champions. I guess they're probably not 2 hours at this point in time, but they can be a long, long time manual key that's not fun. I did it once. I think I did 900 million on hard because I set my team up for hard as opposed to nightmare because I have a 800 million auto nightmare team with Toshiro. So why would I
Mm.
want to mess with that? And yeah, it happened and I did it and I'm never doing it again because it was an hour of just suck fest of avoiding RNG, and if I have to restart again, then it's a full hour again of doing it, and it just
Mm.
wasn't an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
which is funny because we'll probably talk about some of this stuff too, because we were going to talk about Chimera and Hydra on my channel too. So
Yep.
just a
We will.
teaser
Yeah.
on that one. But it's not that Titus himself is a problem. I don't think that, doing billions of damage against Hydra is a big deal. It's the fact that there's competitive modes based off of it. And if you
Mm.
have the teams to build for it, then you can do it. If you have the champions to do it on full auto, then that's great. And for people that don't have the champions to do it on full auto, it's either hours of your time or maybe I'll just skip and not use them.
Yeah. I'm harsher about Titus myself. I think that because I mean, this is, I think, like for me, the way I use him, I think there's multiple problems. So, problem number one, right, for the crazy
Mhm.
Titus damage, if you've been playing the game for years consistently and you've collected all the fusions, it's not a problem because you've got Vaultkeeper Wixwell. But if you join the game after Vaultkeeper Wixwell came out, you don't have this champion. Guess what, Titus? It just doesn't work. You basically, like, there's a couple of workarounds, but they're much weaker. You basically need Vaultkeeper Wixwell to really maximize him. Again, if you had collected Vaultkeeper
Mhm.
Wixwell before, like I did, because I was playing back then, no problem. But gosh, for a new player, nope. You're flat out of luck. You got to get lucky and pull this guy at some point to make your actual champion work. It's surprising, in fact, if we look at Titus reviews for a champion who's obviously completely busted. He's clearly the best damage dealer in the game for Chimera. He's only got 4.1, which is it shows the community sentiment around him. I think is actually fairly negative. These don't reflect actually really probably one of the strongest damage dealers in the game for all of these modes by miles. I think because of that, you just need another champion to fully unlock him, which is a problem. I think the other problem for me is that, okay, well, it's not so bad if you need another champion to fully unlock them, but it's the fact that he's so stupidly powerful on top of that, that to me, that makes it a big problem. Like, you join the game after Wixwell, you've got Titus, but you don't have Wixwell. Well, great. You just can't really. Okay, no, Chimera's ended. Never mind. But that's going to hold you back from Hydra, right? You're not going to be as
Mhm.
good. You join the game after Titus. Oh, you don't have Titus. You just can't really compete. You can kind of compete, but it's like putting a toddler into a race with Olympic athletes. It's just it's a bit of a joke. It's a bit of a farce. Yeah, and like that to me is it's that combination. It's like you must have Titus and Wixwell, or else forget about competing. As you said, in modes, it doesn't really matter for Demon Lord, but like for modes in Hydra and Chimera where it is competitive and you do have these clash modes, it's like that those things in combination are particularly bad. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I threw another one of the big damage dealers in Toshiro out there, and
yeah,
Toshiro is obviously a mythical, but as a mythical, you expect some extra level of power creep from that end, so that makes some
sure.
sense.
Hmm.
He's empowered by Mikage as the most empowering champion for him, which is a freely accessible champion,
Yeah,
maybe difficult to get, but definitely freely accessible under some circumstances.
yeah,
Yes, he really does need the top soul to be amazing. You want the right relics to be amazing, but it's mostly him and everything else around him, powers him up. You don't have Mikage, well, other ally attackers will still help with him. You can enable him by giving him other people with other abilities to complement his skills. And it's not if you don't have Mikage, he's useless.
mm,
Mikage just makes him a little bit better. Unlike Titus, where it's Wixwell,
right.
maybe a sheep, maybe I think what, three-piece, what is that set? Blood Shield is an okay-ish substitute
It's
for it
okay
with
for
reset
Hydra. Yeah,
champions,
yeah,
and maybe Brogni,
mhm.
and that's about the extent of which. And if you don't have any of those options, you really don't have an option to really use him from the damage perspective.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and his kit's unique everywhere else. It's kind of like this kit's horrible in other places, but no one ever is going to use him there because his kit was just kind of okay in other places. I think
yeah.
that ally protection thing, the conditions are that it's just kind of weird
I
where he
actually,
puts.
I actually disagree on this part, and it's
Mhm.
another reason I don't like Titus, which is the way that you use Titus for damage is A1 completely ignored, A3 completely ignored, passive completely ignored. The way that endgame players use him, you're ignoring 3/4 of his kit because his A2 is the only thing that actually matters. And that's just for me feels like such a waste of a champion. It's such an
Mhm.
awkward, inelegant design. And yeah, like I think he actually does a bunch of pretty cool and unique stuff. Like I do agree, it's certainly awkward to trigger this and whatnot, but it's actually quite cool and interesting. And literally, there's no point in me ever seeing it. Again, somewhat going back to our point of sure, I could switch his gear and I could re-gear him. He's still going to have the wrong blessing, mastery, and relic though, because I can't afford to change those. So I can never really fully try, or even there's not even a point in using Titus in the non-damage build because he's sort of locked into the damage build, despite free gear change, which is great, but not everything that we need, in my opinion. But yeah, I think it's really awkward. And there's an interesting, really interesting champion in here, a support champion, and a provoker and stuff. But you literally never see that stuff because, like, you just can't, or you just
Mhm.
it doesn't make sense. But how overpowered this move is. Um, yeah, sorry to interrupt you
Yeah,
there, but
and the
yeah.
funny part is too, like that A3 part, not only do you
Yeah.
not use it in the end game, you literally don't want to use it because you
Oh
wanna
yeah.
build his shield up as much as possible, and you don't want that ally attack draining that shield, which would be annoying.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Like I think I've got a full auto team. It's not amazing or anything with Titus, but what Titus team do I use? But yeah, like again, you can see A3 to turn it off, right? Then he uses his
Mhm.
A1 because there's nothing else to use, but it doesn't do anything. It's just all about, it's all about that A2. It's just silly. I thought actually there was a team over here that to me, because we were discussing them, it's interesting to see this team on just on hard difficulty. But you know, we've
Mhm.
got the Mikage Toshiro, and Toshiro is actually 6-star. And then we've got Shia Krokad. Krokad actually beat Toshiro. He's
Yep.
ahead of him, which is insane to me. So this is a similar thing to Titus Wixwell for me, but to me, it's not a problem. So you still have an old fusion who's powering up a new one. So that is still an awkward, clunky thing. That's not ideal at all. But to me, it's not as bad because whereas Titus is super OP, this is incredibly strong, but there are alternatives. And even the alternatives that are weaker, because Crowcat, there's no question, he's an absolute monster. He's a freaking beast.
Mhm.
But like, you know, if I use a ninja team or something, again, not an accessible champion, but I could use Harima, I could use whatever, plenty of different options. Even if they're slightly weaker, I'm pretty close. Whereas if you come into Chimera and you say, I want to try to do as much damage as Nub's Titus teamer, there's plenty of people in my clan that are breaking the damage limits with Titus. They're much stronger teams. You go, I want to try compete against that. It's like, again, it's the child competing in the Olympic, finals for sprint. It's just, sure you can run along if you want to, and it's cute and quaint, but it's not anything anyone takes seriously. it's
Well, and here's the thing too, Crocat is actually a solid champion even without Shayak as
That's true.
well.
Yeah,
You
he's
know, I got
decent.
him on my free to play, and while I don't use him in my Hydra team because I haven't been able to book him, so he's not been a
Yeah.
reliable fit yet, he's
Mm,
still a 6-star. He was very helpful in Faction Wars, and I still use him in a lot of limited content because he still hits really hard even
hmm.
without Shayak. He just hits so much harder with Shayak.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just seeing like for the best. Like yeah, you can see. I mean, like the Titus team over here. This looks like it's a full auto one as well. Titus done like quite a bit more damage than
Mhm.
even like the Crowcats and the Tishiro, the +2 6-star Tishiro. Anyway, so I think it's kind of bad. I will say one thing that's good about it, and it's sort of the I don't know if we mentioned Arman's, but it's something similar to Arman's, is that they're kind of crazy, and arguably Arman's was, some people really, really dislike him, which is understandable because he's again quite OP. At least with the fusion, at least a lot of people, if you were playing at the time and been playing for long enough to be able to do a fusion, you have the time to dedicate to it. At least he is one of the more accessible champions. So there was that at least. The Arman's,
Mhm.
Titus, whatever, Crocad, at least because they're fusions, they are some of the most accessible champions. Um, and that's a good thing for the champions to be really strong. At least if they're more accessible, it's good. We mentioned Empress earlier. I find that to be my preference. Empress, Mithrala, a couple of champions we mentioned. The mission champions, it's like if you're not playing at the time of the fusion or you can't play at the time of the fusion or whatever, they're permanently available. They're the champions I like most. Like I love Empress. I think he's great because everyone can
Oh,
get
yeah.
him. He's incredibly strong. It just feels really good. He's not going away anytime. You can always get Empress, and that's a huge win. Same thing with Mithrala. I think it's a big win, and it's a goal that any player at any time can work towards. They're the best of the best. Um, the free logins and fusions are good, but I think it's probably good that they are generally very strong. So it's even like, oh, well, I missed this really good damage dealer before. Well, there'll be another good one coming up at some point. Like you missed Tholan. Well, there was Crocat then soon enough after. You've got Sanguine Maria coming out. She looks to be
Mhm.
really good as well. Like there's plenty of good ones coming at a steady pace now. So
I mean, Granite
that's something.
Doorkeep is one that everyone is skipping, but it's one
Yeah.
of these things like if I had told you 2 years ago you would have a champion doing what he's doing and
Oh
everyone
yeah.
would skip him, people would have been, why? That looks amazing. 2 years ago, he would have been the best fusion of the year, possibly.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
he's a solid fusion. He's a solid champion that will help a
Yeah.
ton of accounts if you went for him.
Hmm.
And I totally understand why a lot of people didn't because they're looking for Leonardo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And like the more you play the game, like it's one thing I do find we rate a lot of champions these days at like 4 out of 5, but they do tend to be like that. They're actually really solid. They're really good, but then it's like, well, if you already got a 4.5 or a 5 who's doing the same job, you know, you might not actually be that excited about them, which is I think where a decent like certainly that's how I think a lot of people later game players felt about Granite was like, okay, he's really good, but I have other champions who are better or as good doing the same job. Do I really need him? But again, you could have new players
Yeah.
that's like, yeah, he's massive. I've definitely seen
Oh,
new players say that. Granite is absolutely insane for me. He's opened up so
oh yeah.
much. And yeah, that's a good thing. That's what
And
the
that's
fusions
that's
are
where the
for.
FOMO is going in there as well. I think we were talking a little bit
Mm,
about talking about the FOMO of these things as
right.
well.
Hmm.
Granted is really good. So there's a lot of people that may have gone for him, possibly costing themselves Leonardo because he's a good fusion. With
Yeah.
Maria, we don't quite know how good she's going to be yet, but there are
True.
people that are saying she looks so good. Maybe I need to actually give up on Leo. And I don't think so. I think you take the limited edition champion first because you can pull her later if you have to.
Hmm.
But but you also have, FOMO coming from like I talked about Lana Tharl as a champion who got better post fusion because people found more uses for him because suddenly content where he was usable came in.
Yeah, that's true. That it
What's
was
her name?
pre Fire Knight,
Yeah,
hard and all that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Morrigan is another good one actually.
Yeah.
Morrigan is one of the best champions for Amius, and Amius
Yeah.
took almost 2.5 years before that existed when she existed. So not that she was a bad champion by any means, but she was very much a meh fusion at the time. And now there's a lot of people that probably would love to have her on the account just for Amias.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. But yeah, let's look at the future then. We still have a couple of fusions left for
Mhm.
2025, of course, but for 2020, end of 2025, for 2026, what are you looking for? Continuing the trend of 2025, is that the right call? Is that what we want to see? Like consistently really strong fusions, or is it too much? Is it too much FOMO? Do we need some really shit fusions thrown in as well? What's your vibe on that?
No, I think powerful fusions that make people think are perfect
Yeah.
because that is, I mean, and I'm looking at this both from what's going to keep raids successful and what's going to keep players playing. And, you know, crap fusions don't keep players playing. We had a string of a bunch of really bad fusions, and people were like, "Is Raid dying? Is Raid dying? Is Raid?"
Yeah.
We're not getting that much this year, but I think the Turtles collab right around the time when those conversations start help. But yeah, like there after Thor, we
Yeah,
had
these three.
Jeroboam.
Yeah.
That one was not particularly great. Jeroboam and Gretel,
Gretel, not
not a
great.
particularly great set of fusion to the
Yeah.
point where a lot of people discounted Stock the Broken as not as good as he honestly is
He's a PvP
because they
menace
were
these
like,
days,
yeah,
you know?
you know. I mean,
Funny.
heck, I think people underestimate Lady Noelle. I mean, to be fair, I probably do because I don't use her too often.
Hmm.
But yeah, you had Sir Nick, and of course they did a free Sir Nick fusion with that too. That was another thing I think was great and a good
Yes,
example of that type of thing too.
that's
If
true.
they had done some extra way to get Wix well, other than a Prism event with Titus, that might have
Yes.
made the Titus fusion a little more palatable for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, like with we did forgot to mention it. I forgot actually until you brought it up there. But yeah, with
Mhm.
Crocat, they did do the path, didn't they? So you could get a guaranteed Shayak, which again makes it way better. Whereas, yeah, they did not do that with Titus and Wixwell. Oh man. Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we
classic.
usually get a banger of a Christmas fusion, so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that should be kind of exciting. We're definitely gonna get something in November as well, probably related to the new content, maybe,
Maybe.
maybe not.
I mean, that being said, if you look at these and from the eyes of Chimera, there's not been a ton, really. We think that Chimera came out here. Like, Hatter's not bad for Chimera, but he's not. And say
Hmm.
Esme's not bad, but like who's really good
Yeah.
at Chimera? Tholin's not bad. Like Titus, uh, Donatello's probably fairly helpful, but Granite's decent. Like there's no like
Hmm.
there's none of these champions I look at apart from Titus and be like, this is a Chimera specialist, as it were, which is weird. You think I think the same with the login champions. I just always find that a bit strange. It's like Chimera is the big new content at the end of 2024. You would expect somewhere in 2025 to have some more obvious Chimera specialists. Maybe I'm missing some. Let
Well,
us.
you don't think Scion was targeted for particular content in the game, or whatever
Scion, yeah,
the really
Scion.
bad,
Scion is too powerful. That's his problem, isn't it? He's
yeah.
too good. Uh, yeah, he's just there for the Borg fans, I think.
Mhm.
Bring in the old Trekkies. Let's get him. Yeah, no. Um, but yeah, so I agree with you though. For 2026, I do think these strong fusions is the way to go. I think 2025 has been, for the most part, great on fusions. Like I said, I think Titus is overpowered in a unhealthy way. That's not. I enjoy autoing my Hydra key and Chimera key, and that's done. But I think he's generally bad for the game. Apart from basically, I think Titus is bad for the game. The part of him I enjoy is that I get to not engage with Chimera. Like I just go in, I press auto, and it's like when I just don't want to do Chimera, he's great because he just does it automatically. So that's kind of a weird thing to say. I think a weird way for a champion to be good is it lets me not play the game really. Strange, but hey, there we go. But yeah, I think even like for example, Esme is not exciting to me personally, but I think she was a solid fusion and very helpful for progressing players. I think that's I quite like those being mixed in, similar to Ishiyama, not the strongest, but helpful for newer players. I think a
Mhm.
few of those mixed in with then just some really generally solid and great champions is it's a pretty good
Yeah.
way to do fusion. So I'd be pretty happy they went with generally the same thing for 2026. But yeah,
Yeah, I think the only thing I see as a problem with this year
Hmm.
is we haven't had a reviver this year.
That's
Closest we have is the
true.
Donatello's block that, but we haven't had a reviver in any of these things. You
No,
generally look the previous years, it's one or I mean, I guess it's only one, but usually it's like two revivers, I think.
it's
Like we had Noel,
Noel.
and then we
Uh,
had Ancora earlier on.
yeah, no, there's two
Um,
that year, and they're both super helpful. Yeah, it is. That's a fair point. Yeah, 2023.
yeah, maybe
I think it was a
not.
bad
Maybe
year.
it's not always fusion.
There was Pytheon.
Yeah, just
That's
Pytheon
why he
and
got high
Noella
out
is a
5.
major, really good healer. So yeah. So yeah, I guess we're due for a reviver or something like that kind of soon.
Yeah, there was Uko.
Um, Ugo there.
You're right. Yeah, there's been a
Um,
reviver every year except how about
except this year so
2021?
far.
Pseudo reviver.
Hmm.
Well, maybe not this year. He's a couple of pseudo revivers in 2021. But yeah, most years there tends to be, and it's such a key role. So yeah, I agree. That would be cool. A nice strong reviver for sure. Or they could do that again from a mission. Obviously, arbiters from the missions, but like for whatever new content coming in December, giving us a
Yep,
good permanent reviver. That could be pretty helpful, I think, to
that would
players
be
as well.
definitely
But
helpful. Yes.
yeah, cool. All right, Bronze, anything that you want to say here before the end of the video and we jump over to your channel?
No, it's like I said, this has been fun talking about it. I was kind of thinking about this. I know you've hinted at some of this stuff as well, so I thought
Mm,
this would be a good topic for us to chat on. And yeah, it is now more than ever important to be doing these fusions. And
yeah.
I mean, do you get comments on your channel a lot where people say that fusions are a waste of time? Because I still get those sometimes, and I just find it kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, people can be weirdly anti-fusion. Like I mentioned it with the Wixwell one is one that particularly stood out. But yeah, people, yeah, I think people want to hate the fusion as well, or like a decent chunk of people,
Mhm.
because it is. I mean, to be fair, I remember my first fusion was Pixneal. It's the first one I did.
Oh,
Not a good
ugh.
one. That's a bit generous, perhaps, but terrible. But I remember trying to do my first fusion. I forget now because I'm like full-time content creator. I'm always playing the damn game, but it's so intensive. Like it's such a
Mhm.
crazy time sink. Oh my god. Um, it's totally understandable that people want to skip fusions. They're like, I want to break from this grind, please. I think that desire to not want to do the fusions, I think, makes people be harsh. And I also think the other thing that I see that's pretty common is, again, like, take Granite as a good example, is I very often see a comment which would be like, Granite is bad for me, therefore Granite is absolute garbage trash champion and he's terrible. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
sure, he might not be useful for you, but what about other people? Yeah, so I think that's
Yeah.
fairly common as well, as if a fusion is not useful for, I don't know, a certain subset of commenters, that they'll just rip it apart. Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're probably the most
That that
common things
that
I
sums up
see.
a lot of my thoughts, and I think that's a great thought on that overall. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just fusions, they're worth the grind in many cases. If you don't think they're worth the grind, that's fine,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean they're absolute trash. And to be fair, there've been so many good fusions that can help somebody's account
Mm.
that yeah, I mean, I'm sure heck the Gretel one probably helped some poor account somewhere,
Yeah,
She
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
horrible.
I've
She
seen
just
some
wasn't
Gretel
great.
stuff in, like, top end, not top, but like high end live arena. Because, like, nobody wants to ban the Hansel and Gretel,
Mhm.
and like, I've seen them a tiny bit. Yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't mind marking her down to a 3.5 or whatever, but again, not to, it's one of the things that's always awkward about the star ratings too. Is it's like, it's not total trash as well. They have some use. But yeah, again, like, damage dealers are a very particular one where there's so much competition that whatever a 4 out of 5 damage dealer can be. Like I said, this is probably too generous, and I think this is maybe a
Mhm.
little harsh. It could be a bit higher, but, like, that they, like, Supreme Elhain, people would shit all over. Like, she's fine. She's a decent damage
Oh, yeah.
dealer. She's not exceptional, but there's just like a million damage dealers in the game. So, but I mean, she's fine. She's all right. Um,
Yeah, I mean, at the time, Necrit was still popular at the time, and she was an
y-
anti-Necrit champion,
yeah,
so she had
that's
a
her
good
point.
use for people that didn't have, like, your Georges of the world at the time, so,
Right, right, for
you know
sure. Yeah. Bang on. Yeah. Okay, guys, there you go. Big shout out to Bront for joining again. Make sure to check out the new collaboration thing down below, and make sure to subscribe to Bront and check out the video we're gonna go record right now over for Bront's channel, talking about Chimera and Hydra as well. I think you were saying. Ooh,
Yep.
so interesting discussions to happen. We'll see you over there. Thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers to Bront, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.